Welcome to Lingua Latina Tutorials with Mr. K, Pensum D. This video explains the new grammar and syntax found in Chapter 41 of the Lingua Latina series. It is meant to accompany the Latine Disco text available from Focus Bookstores and the Pensum D worksheets available from 50%Latin.blogspot.com and christianlanguage.com. Let's get into Chapter 41 and look at the new features in our disco. In lines 2 through 3, we'll start here at the very beginning with Trojani et Latini. Iam primum omnium satis constat Troia capta Aeneam domo profugum primo in Macedoniam venisse, inde in Siciliam de latum esse, ab Sicilia classe ad Larentum agrum tenuisse. So now, first of all, it is well enough established that Aeneas, after Troy was captured, as a fugitive from his home, as a fugitive from his first home, he came into Macedonia. From there, he was carried to Sicily, and from Sicily, he held he came to the land of Laurentum with his fleet, or held the land of Laurentum with his fleet, literally. So the new feature here is, first of all, we have constat. Constat is, you see in the margins, means certum est. It's a way of introducing an indirect statement on accusative infinitive construction. So it is established that, and then you get the accusative Aeneas and our perfect infinitive here from venio, so venisse. It is established that Aeneas came. There's our subject and verb in the accusative indirect in our indirect statement. The next new feature is in line 27. So moving ahead, here we got 26, 27. So we'll start with, right here with turnus. Turnus rex rutulorum, cui Lavinia ante adventum Aeneae sponsa fuerat, moleste patiens advenam sibi praelatum esse, simul Aeneae Latinoque bellum intulerat. So Turnus, the king of the Rutuli, to whom Lavinia had been betrothed before the arrival of Aeneas, enduring or taking badly the fact that a foreigner was being preferred to himself. At the same time, he had brought war against Aeneas and Latinus. So the new feature here is the adventum. Adventum, you see in the margin, adventus, adventus, is a fourth declension noun. And it's a fourth declension noun that comes from a verb. Many fourth declension nouns are derived from the supine of the verb. Remember, the supine is that third principal part, the perfect passive, minus the SA and minus the ending. That gives us our supine stem. And so from advenio or advenira, to arrive, advenisse, to have arrived, adventum esse, to have been arrived. And remember last time we talked about the passive of those intransitive verbs like that. Adventum esse would be more like there was an arrival, or just translated as they arrived. So here we have adventum. It comes from advenira, fourth declension noun, one of the many, and we'll see a few others in this chapter. Line 54 has another new feature. Okay, so here we'll start with, we should probably go a little bit above 54. And we'll start with interim. Interim Lavinia propuero regnavit. Incertum est, quis enim rem tam veterem procerto affirmet, hic ne fuerit Laviniae filius an filius ille maior Creusum matrenatus, Ascanius siva Iulus appellatus, quem gens Julia auctorem nominis sui esse dicit. So we have, in the meantime, Lavinia ruled for her son. It is uncertain for who could affirm a matter so ancient. Who could affirm that for certain? It is uncertain whether this was the son of Lavinia. It's talking about little Julius slash Ascanius. Whether this was the son of Lavinia or that older son born from his mother Creusa, Ascanius or Julius, if you will, or called Ascanius or Julius, if you will, whom the Julian clan, the clan of Julius Caesar, the Julian clan says was the progenitor or the ancestor of their own name. So the new feature in this long sentence is found with the verb affirmet. It comes from affirmare, to affirm, and so we see that this is our subjunctive form, our present active subjunctive, third person singular. And so why is it subjunctive? In this situation, it's a direct question, not an indirect question, for who could affirm this. So what makes it subjunctive is the fact that this is a potential thing, like who could possibly do this? Who might do this? We call those subjunctives, where we would translate them as who might or who could, potential subjunctives. Potential, and that's what we have here. Affirmet is a potential subjunctive. In line 66, we have another new feature, and we'll start with so pax ita convenerat ut Etruscis latinisque fluvius albula quem nunc tiberim vocant finis esset. So the peace thus had established that the river Albula be the border, finis esset, be the border for the Etruscans and the Latini, the river Albulus, which now they call the Tiber. So the two features here. First is convenerat. Convenerat is often an impersonal verb, meaning it had established. So it had established, or they had established something. Here we have a subject for convenerat. We have pax. The peace implied the treaty that was established. The peace treaty had thus established a border for the Etruscans. Had established that there be a border. And the river Albula, here we have quem nunc tiberim vocant. So they used to call this river the Albula, now they call it the Tiber. Notice vocant here, third person plural, present active indicative from vocara. They call. What's the subject? It's just a general they. People call it. We do the same thing in English, of course. So just understand there is no actual subject here. It's just they call the Albula the Tiber now. The next new feature is in line 119. Moving ahead. Here we go. Getting closer. One more page. Okay. We have, we'll start with Iam. Iam in de ab initio Faustulo space fuerat regiam stirpum apud se educari, nam et iusu regis infantes expositos esse sciebat et tempus quo ipse eos sustulisset ad id tempus convenira. Long sentence. So, now, from the very beginning, in de ab initio, now from the very beginning, it had been Faustulus's hope. It had been the hope to Faustulus that a royal offspring was being brought up by himself. For both for he knew by both by the command of the king, for he knew that both by the command of the king that the infants had been exposed, and he knew that it was established that the time in which he himself had found the boys, that it had established that it was at that very time, yad id tempus, at that time. The new features here are, or the new feature I should say, is yusu, as we saw before with the fourth declension noun adventum from advenire. Here we have yusu from eubera, to command or to order. Eubera, eusisse, to have ordered, and eusum esse, to have been ordered. Here from that supine form, eusum esse, we have yusu. This is unusual though because this fourth declension noun only has this ablative singular form, this long yusu, by the command of someone. So this is, you'll only see the noun, fourth declension noun eusum in this form. The next new feature is in line 145. Move ahead to 145, and here we have starting with ergo. Ergo inter fratres convenit ut Romulus and Palatio, Remus and Aventino auspicaretur. So therefore, it was established between the brothers that Romulus checked the auspices on the Palatine Hill, that Remus checked the auspices on the Aventine Hill. So convenit, again from convenire, to establish, and so here we have the perfect from convenire, and the only thing that distinguishes our perfect from our present here is this long e. So convenit, would be it is established, and convenit is it was established. So here we have it was established. What's the subject of convenit? There is no subject in the sentence. It's impersonal here. We saw before with pax convenerat, the peace had established. Here we don't have a subject, so it was established between the brothers, that, and then we have a purpose clause, that Romulus checked the auspices, etc. The next new feature is in line 207. Moving ahead, I think one more page. And here we are in Ovid's Fasti, his book about the, books about the Roman calendar. And in 207, we have, starting with hic ubi nunc forasunt lintres errare videres, quaque jacent vales maxime circe tuae. So here, where now there are fora, and we're going to skip this little line here, and where your valleys now lie, O Circus Maximus, you might have seen little boats floating around or wandering around. So the new feature here is videres, which is an imperfect subjunctive, second person singular, and you might, the way we translate it is you might have seen, or you could have seen some little boats wandering around. And this is another example of a potential subjunctive. You might have seen, you could have seen. That's why we have subjunctive. In this situation, you see that you can have the potential subjunctive and the imperfect. So past tenses can do the potential as well as the present. The next new feature is in line 221. Going down to 221. Here we have, I'll start, yeah. Vagierunt clamore pari sensisse putares, hi redeunt udis in sua tecta genis. They cried with an equal cry. You might have thought that they sensed, implied what was going to happen to them. So we have the new feature here, same as another, it's not new, it's just a review of the potential subjunctive. You might have thought, and then you have the indirect statement. That's why we have the infinitive here. You might have thought that they implied, eos, that they sensed what was happening. The next new feature and the last one in this section is in line 228. Here we'll start with venit. Venit ad expositos mirum lupa feta gemelos quis credat pueris non nocuisse fera. So a wolf who had given birth came to the exposed twins. Amazing. Who might believe, or who would believe, that that wild animal didn't harm those boys? So here we have the new feature, which is credat. Quis credat? Who might believe this? And it is another example of a potential subjunctive from credera, to believe. This is third person singular, present subjunctive, active. Who might believe that? So there you have all of the new features for chapter 41. Thank you for listening.